Taiwan is accelerating a sweeping transformation in its defense strategy. Over the next 2 years, its military plans to acquire nearly 50,000 domestically manufactured drones, ranging from small rotor units to longer-range fixed-wing aircraft. This dramatic build-up reflects a strategic recalibration, one that treats unmanned aerial vehicles not as rare, high-value assets, but as expendable, high-volume tools designed for asymmetric warfare. The procurement plan, now public, calls for 48,750 drones by 2027, about 11,270 by 2026, and roughly 37,480 inches 2027. The acquisition is to be executed in phases, and the drones are classified into types, Type A through E, covering a wide spectrum of capabilities from short-range, vertical takeoff multi-rotors to fixed-wing drones with long endurance. Significantly, the tender requires all drone components and manufacturing to remain fully domestic. Any company with ties to China, whether through capital or supply chains, is barred from participating. These details reveal a broader ambition to build a self-reliant drone industrial base, one decoupled from supply vulnerabilities or geopolitical dependencies. As defense officials put it, Taiwan aims to avoid repeating mistakes tied to foreign reliance, a lesson underscored by recent global conflicts where drone performance often hinged on reliable supply chains. The decision to scale up drone acquisitions so drastically is hardly arbitrary. Throughout 2025, Taiwan's defense community increasingly cited evolving threats from Beijing: a rapidly modernizing People's Liberation Army, aggressive aerial and naval maneuvers, and growing concern over Taiwan's vulnerability in a high-intensity conflict scenario. Drones promise Taiwan a chance to overcome its disadvantages. Instead of trying to match China's sheer size, the island is betting on agility, numbers, and attrition-based tactics, a swarm model tailored for hit-and-run strikes, surveillance, and saturation attacks. By treating drones like bullets, cheap, replaceable, numerous Taiwan aims to reshape the strategic calculus for any would-be invader. Analysts and defense experts have noted the influence of recent wars on this thinking. The conflict in Ukraine, where inexpensive drones significantly altered battlefield dynamics, resonated deeply. As one defense policy observer phrased it at a public panel, China now has the dominance of the supply on a lot of different components that are used in drones that is very critical for Taiwan. For us to actually start gradually building up a non-reliant supply chain and to basically make sure that way before the contingency happens, we already have the capacities to manufacture enough and good quality components and drone models that can be integrated into our layered defense strategy. Push is now reflected in policy. Procurement rules emphasize domestic production, and drone types are being diversified to cover multiple mission sets: surveillance, strike, reconnaissance, maritime operations, and more. At the core of Taiwan's drone build-up is the National Changshan Institute of Science and Technology, assists the government's primary defense technology agency. With a history going back decades, NCSI-ST already oversees development and manufacture of missiles, radar systems, munitions, and unmanned platforms. Over the years, NCSIST has rolled out a family of UAVs and loitering munitions, from small surveillance drones to medium-altitude, long-endurance platforms to radar-seeking suicide drones. Models like the Qianshang loitering munition underscore the breadth of capability designed to target enemy radars and electronic systems. These drones blend reconnaissance and strike functions in a single autonomous payload. The new procurement drive seeks to expand and diversify this portfolio while scaling up manufacturing capacity. Under current estimates, NCSIST and partner firms aim to ramp up production to thousands, ultimately tens of thousands of drones per year. This is not about building a handful of elite systems. It's about creating mass redundancy and sustained output. By decoupling from foreign supply, especially from China, and by spreading manufacturing across domestic firms, Taiwan seeks to insulate its drone programs from geopolitical disruptions, export controls, or the vulnerabilities that come with reliance on foreign subsystems. What does Taiwan hope to achieve with tens of thousands of drones? The answer is strategic and necessarily asymmetric. First, drones offer a cost-effective way to impose attrition. In a potential conflict, Taiwan's smaller size and limited manpower mean that traditional large-scale force-on-force confrontation would likely favor China. But drones, especially if lost, don't carry the political or human cost that manned aircraft or naval vessels do. By calculating in numbers rather than single platform supremacy, Taiwan can impose a high cost on an adversary through persistent harassment, surveillance, and strike operations. Second, drones offer versatility. From coastal surveillance to anti-ship operations, from electronic warfare to radar-hardened strike packages, the diversified fleet can be used in layered defense scenarios. Their modularity allows quick adaptation. Whether the threat comes from the sea, air, or cyberspace, drones can be customized for the mission. Third, mass drone deployment serves a dual purpose: deterrence and resilience. Even if a portion of the fleet is destroyed early in a conflict, the sheer volume and replenishment capacity mean Taiwan could sustain prolonged resistance. Treating drones as consumables akin to ammunition ensures that rapid replacement remains possible, limiting the effect of an initial strike. Finally, the drone build-up supports a broader shift in defense strategy, away from relying solely on imported jets, missiles, and heavy platforms, and toward a homegrown, distributed, and layered defense architecture, one designed to exploit Taiwan's geographic advantages and deny the PLA easy dominance. But the plan isn't without serious hurdles. Critics and defense analysts argue that simply stockpiling drones isn't enough. A drone army is only as effective as its infrastructure. Command and control, logistics, maintenance, training, and spare parts are all critical. One concern is whether Taiwan's existing manufacturing and supply chain can scale fast enough, especially given the requirement for strictly domestic components. Scaling up from dozens or hundreds of drones to tens of thousands per year represents a massive industrial challenge. Then there is the issue of training and doctrine. Operating a drone swarm, effectively coordinating multivariant UAVs across different services, Air Force, Navy, Army, integrating real-time intelligence, synchronizing strikes, managing maintenance cycles requires a level of command sophistication that Taiwan must build rapidly. Moreover, drone warfare brings vulnerabilities. Swarms can be vulnerable to electronic warfare, jamming, and counter-drone defenses. If the adversary prepares, massed drones could be intercepted, neutralized, or turned into decoys, a scenario that would undermine their value. In some respects, such a build-up is only as credible as the resilience and flexibility of its supporting systems. Finally, political and diplomatic ramifications remain. A massive drone arsenal could draw condemnation from Beijing or provoke preemptive action. Taiwan must balance the deterrence benefit against the risk of escalation, especially if such a build-up is perceived by China as a provocation rather than a defensive posture. In many ways, Taiwan's drone surge signals a shift in the cross-strait dynamic. Instead of just responding to threats, Taipei is trying to reframe the strategic balance, from being a small island under existential threat to being a high-cost target where any aggression would carry substantial risk. By building a drone force measured in tens of thousands, cheap, replaceable, and domestically produced, Taiwan is betting that survivability, swarming, and attrition will deter China more effectively than a smaller suite of high-end weapons. This strategy is particularly relevant given the modernization of the PLA, stealth aircraft, long-range missiles, cyber and electronic warfare capabilities. In that context, numbers and redundancy matter. A distributed drone network could complicate PLA targeting, disrupt their planning, and raise the threshold for any potential operation. Additionally, domestic drone production helps insulate Taiwan from global supply chain risks. Given international pressure, export controls, and geopolitical tensions, reliance on foreign arms alone is risky. By contrast, a locally built drone fleet reduces dependencies and gives Taipei more control over its defense readiness. Taiwan's approach could become a model for other small or medium-sized states facing larger adversaries. The concept mass drone procurement, domestic manufacturing, swarming and attrition tactics, layered defence may offer a template for defence that is both cost-effective and scalable. If the plan succeeds, it could influence military thinking globally. Drones, once niche assets for reconnaissance or special operations, might become mainstream strategic tools, part of a broader shift toward asymmetric, distributed, resilient defence architectures. It also underscores a transformation in defence economics. Rather than long procurement cycles for expensive jets or ships, states might lean into faster, modular, lower-cost platforms that can be produced en masse. For countries with limited budgets or under threat from larger neighbours, this could offer a credible path to deterrence without unsustainable expenditure. At the same time, it could change the nature of warfare, raising the importance of manufacturing capacity, electronics and supply chain resilience, cyber electronic defence, and drone operability at scale. It could lead to an arms race not of stealth fighters or aircraft carriers, but of drone numbers, drone factories, and drone-hardened defence systems. Taiwan's push to build 50,000 drones by 2027 is more than a quantitative ambition. It represents a strategic bet that in an age of rising great power tension and asymmetric threats, massed unmanned systems, domestic production, and pragmatic deterrence offer a better path to survival than conventional force parity. Whether the gamble will pay off depends on more than just manufacturing. It depends on logistics, training, resilience, doctrine, and the ability to integrate drones into a coherent, layered defence architecture. It depends on the ability to deter not only with weapons, but with the credibility that aggression will come at too high a cost. And perhaps most critically, it depends on the resolve to treat drones as more than just technological toys, but as the core of a renewed defensive doctrine. In doing so, Taiwan may well be charting a new path for small states everywhere, a path where the swarm, not the siloed mega weapon, defines strategic stability,